This is my project and I built it. I wrote the code. I maintain it. I own it completely and entirely. There's no debate about this. No one else built this. No one else contributed to this. I built it and it serves the community because I made it serve the community. This is my project. I own the code. I own the data. That is an excerpt from Charlie's 17,000 word document explaining and responding to several things, including but not limited to my take on him obfuscating his code. I don't plan on going into that again because I already went through that in Solar's video, link somewhere in the cards, but I do want to pinpoint at this excerpt because it is a lie. And sadly enough for Charlie, I have the receipts to show that he is lying. But that is not all that we are going to discuss in this video. I will also discuss some of the things that he has said about me and my own project, Tracky. There is a lot I want to discuss in this video. So let's just do it before I get kicked out of this guy's studio. Firstly, I want to discuss this point right here. No one else built this. No one else contributed to this. Well, here's the thing, Charlie. Your words on their own may be believable, but sadly, emails don't lie. And I have some emails. This is an email from March 22nd, 2024 from GitHub saying that you, Charlie, invited me to collaborate on your bot's repository. And I can show you that this is real because it's signed by GitHub. And in fact, I will open the original. And you can see that everything passes. And as well that, I have another email. Discord team invite. Hey NotTCA, you've been invited to join the team sub-update bot graph up emoji on Discord's developer platform. That's pretty exciting. Well, you know, that would be pretty exciting if Charlie didn't lie to everyone and say that he built the bot himself. And just in case that wasn't enough, Charlie Ashford has invited you to join the Communitrics organization. Let's be completely honest here. Just based on this proof alone, it's definitely certain that he wasn't the only one who contributed to this code. But I have something even better. I have the code right here, and I am going to open it in my text editor, Cursor, and we're gonna take a look at one specific portion of the code.
6.5 hours later.
Alrighty, here we are. Here's the code for Communitrics. Now keep in mind, this is actually a version from August 19th. So let me just find the one specific portion in here. Here we are. This code may not look too out of the ordinary to you. It's just making an array of fetched IDs, a current index number, and then looping over the track channels that you get here. We increment the current index, we push to the fetch IDs with an array of the channel ID and the current index, and then we do a check to see if the current index is equal to the amount of channels that are being tracked, or if the IDs that we are going to fetch is greater than or equal to 50. If this is true, then we go to this part where we make a copy of the fetched IDs array called IDs, we clear the fetched IDs, and then we do the fetch to the YouTube API. This code may not seem all that useful in this example, but here's the thing. I wrote this code for Charlie. That may not seem like a smoking gun or whatever, considering I don't have any screenshots or proof that I did this, except for the fact that I ran this exact same code on my own project, Tracky. And here's the code right here. We make an array of fetched IDs, we make a current index number, we loop through the channels, it's the same! I could argue that I took this code from Nia's bot, which is open source, but I mean, come on, this is a lot more complex. The point I'm trying to make is that I helped Charlie with this, and this isn't the only thing I helped Charlie with. I'm leaking my DMs to Charlie, and I don't care because he's gonna delete this the moment I release this video anyway. So here I have an exchange with Charlie on January 24th, 2024, and you can see here that he sent me his entire code for the bot. I mean, it was pretty small at the time, but that's still the code. And then also his entire database. Now, this conversation was actually started in Mr. Beast News, but I don't have the context of that anymore since all of his messages were deleted when he was banned. But he did say what the bug was later on down the road. Issue I'm facing is the previous subject keeps saying NA because I think there's an error where it's not retrieving the pass count from the database. And you can see here, previous subscriber count NA. But you may have noticed something in that exchange that I neglected to mention. ChatGPT wrote like 50% of the code, lol, so if it's done in a weird way, that's probably why. Here's the thing. Should we really count AI-generated code as written completely by yourself? I personally wouldn't say that. I would want to admit that some code was written by an agent. And I will say this right here. I have written code with agents before. That's just kind of how the day and age is nowadays. But I still reviewed the code, and we're not here for me either, so let's just continue. Here we have a bunch of talks about debugging this code, and also me finding the exact problem and the error that it's giving. Oh, that's the issue. Yeah, so here I found the issue. Apparently, ChatGPT returned the subcount itself here, if row resolve row.last subcount, instead of the actual row, which is what the code expects. So then here I sent him the fixed version, and if we scroll down, yep, right here, resolve row. This proves that he wasn't the only one who wrote the code. And there is a lot more exchanges here. Yeah, we still went back and forth because there's still some broken stuff in here. He talked about his database, and then later he DM'd me on January 29th with more problems, and then I continued to debug him, and so on and so forth. Oh yeah, here's another DM from May 2024. At TCA, could you please help write a function for the bot? If you can, I'll say what's needed. And then we go back and forth a little bit on what the code actually does. Okay, well, I don't think I actually did write the function. I think we just went back and forth. So that's still proof that he asked me for help. But that is not all that I have, because I contributed to his websites, which were public at the time, but now they are completely private, and I discussed that more in Solar's video. But here's the thing. One of my friends has the repos, and I have them right here. So let's take a look at one specifically. Let's take a look at MrBeastGraph. This is the repo for MrBeastGraph.com. Oh, that is actually very interesting. I did not realize that he added that alert. Okay, but you get my point. Now, this archive is from March 2nd, 2026, so it's not going to have literally everything, but it's going to have most of the stuff. And if we do this command right here, which shows all of the commits made by an author named ToastedToast, which is me, all in one line with some short statistics about the commit, we can see that there are commits from me. Just some bug fixes. I actually don't know what this was supposed to be. I've tried looking into it. I think I just like moved some stuff around, which is why it's I think that's just like 200 cumulative lines. But either way, it shows that he wasn't the true solo contributor to this project. With that out of the way, it's time to get into actually why I wanted to make this video in the first place. Because even after all of this, even after these contributions to his bot, publicly, his attitude towards me and my own bot, Tracky, which is similar to his, was a completely different story. And I have some screenshots to show you for that. So here is a screenshot from August 16th, 2025. Here's complaining about this specific bug with the graphs where the name just stretches on and on. To be fair, such a name isn't really supposed to exist anyway, because this name is just so absurdly long. It is way too long. But you can see down here, he says, you forgot to truncate the names at watercooler.ts, which is me, and you can tell because it has the ping. And then the smug emoji. I hate the smug emoji, because this smug emoji clearly indicates some sort of negative opinion. And he definitely has some more negative opinions when he says this. I wonder how you have July 2024 data when Tracky didn't even exist until a few months ago. First of all, SCTools estimations and Tracky run on the same database. I've said this multiple times, might show screenshots on screen. And two, I have also publicly stated, again several times, that I have imported your data through your API, and you have been fine with it. Keep that in the back of your mind, because we're only getting started. Here he is again. Still the same day. I still don't appreciate the fact that their whole DB is seeded from Communitrics. Imagine their response if I did that. But oh well. Before I even read everything else, if you had seeded your database based on our data, I would be fine with it. GNC would be fine with it. If you want to take our database and do fun stuff with it, go right ahead. No one's stopping you. And I'm certainly not going to stop you because that data is public. There are APIs that we have that give you the data. Just take it. And that is what Charlie told us too until August 16th, apparently. I don't know. And then he says here, so much for the best stats tracking bot when it still needs to use data from its direct competitor. Now I have this screenshot from September 5th, 2025, which says, the Communitrics one will improve, which is talking about the graphs. We'll get to the graphs in a bit. But it's not a competition. Charlie himself stated that it is not a competition. Why are you saying that we're stealing from a direct competitor if you yourself didn't see it as a competition? And it gets even better because Charlie here states, if it's okay, I'll use Tracky's graphs as inspiration and improve Communitrics ones. I won't copy or steal, but I will use as inspiration, since TC used my graphs as inspiration anyway. Now, for some context, on August 10th, 2025, I made this commit to the Tracky repo. And you can tell that this is the official Tracky repo, because not only is it under my account, not only are there actually active pull requests right now on the repo, but this commit is also verified with my GPG key. So there is no way that Charlie can say that this wasn't me. What did this commit add, you might ask? Well, it added subscriber graphs. And later that same day on the SE Tool server, I announced the release of said subscriber graphs. Here's an example for Ryan Strahan. Now, I'm going to be very honest. The design for this graph was inspired from StatBox's graphs, which look kind of similar, but they're not YouTube related. They're for Discord. And the only thing I took inspiration from Charlie was his idea of putting the daily average right behind the total graph. And you can see that right here, where the average graph is this kind of less opaque graph compared to the total subscribers here. That is what I was inspired from. Charlie took that as me taking his entire graph idea. That is not at all what I did. I saw something that he did right, and I made my own version of it. But instead of taking this as a cool thing that I did, that I was inspired from his own stuff, he decided to take personal offense at it, even though I still wrote the code for this graph myself. I still designed the graph myself. The code to make these graphs have nothing to do with the code that he uses to make the graphs that I was inspired from. I just saw the idea, thought it was cool, and did it myself with my own method and my own resources and my own code that I wrote with my bare hands and my own keyboard and my own mouse. It's absurdity. But besides that, there's also messages like this from Charlie. Though mine won't have issues like this. You see, I actually test all edge cases before pushing to prod. This is meant to imply that I am a bad developer. And I'm gonna be honest, this kind of hurt me. Because as you've seen earlier, I did help him with some stuff. And I was also good friends with him. We talked a lot in servers and sometimes in DMs. But apparently publicly, he does not see me in the same way. He sees me as just another bad developer. And that hurt a lot. Just seeing someone you considered as a friend saying behind your back, because he didn't ping me for any of this. I did not know this was even happening before I checked the server. That you're a bad developer because you don't test edge cases before pushing to production. And I do have one counter argument to this, which is that Communitrics isn't a perfect bot either. Communitrics has also had several issues in the past. Does that mean Charlie's a bad developer? No! We're human! We accidentally write dumb code. We accidentally flip a ternary or accidentally miss one if statement. We're not just AI agents making code. And even then, AI agents make dumb decisions and mistakes as well, but that's besides the point. We are human. We make mistakes. We have bugs. And that is why we have an issues channel in the Discord, so that the users can report the bugs and we can fix it. If you're just gonna talk crap about me behind my back and not tell me about any of these issues, then it's never gonna get fixed. And here is another message. Was not created as a competitor to Communitrics. Even if it wasn't created that way, that's what it is. Again, as I've stated earlier, neither of us saw it as a competition, yet here he is saying it was a competition. I don't know, this man is confusing. And using public data is one thing, but using all 700,000 data points at the time from my entire database to see the DB for this is another. I'm going to disprove this point right here, because we have never imported all 700,000 data points of data from Communitrics into Tracky. Not once. I do know that there was a public dump of his database that he put on the Communitrics org a while ago, but I haven't even seen that yet, and I will never see it because all of those repos are private now, so I will never see it. And here he says again, if TCA still had statistical and it had a public API, would he or you be mad if I used that data to seed Communitrics? I wouldn't be mad. I don't know if Maya would be mad to who he's replying to here, but I wouldn't be mad because again, it's public data. I am giving it to you through this public API so that you can do stuff with it. And now I'm going to get into some screenshots and messages that I have collected to show you some more of how he acted towards me and my bot. This was in a suggestion for a feature for Tracky. And Charlie just randomly responded to As I Hear, saying that it should be in Tracky, with, I'm working on it for Communitrix V2. Every suggestion I've got is being reconsidered. Nobody brought up Communitrix! Nobody had ever asked if this would be in Communitrix. We were talking about Tracky, and somehow he makes this about Communitrix. Whatever, I'm not going to dwell on this a lot. And here again, he's getting all mad that we allegedly imported all of his data, which we don't, by the way, and I want to be very public here. The way we get the Communitrix data is when a channel isn't in our database, we fetch from the Communitrix API, and then we put Communitrix's data into our database. And specifically because we needed data for our estimation system, SE Tools Estimates. And I knew there would be a lot of complaints if we didn't import the data, and it would just be stuck on the API number for a while. So I made the decision to import the Communitrix data when the channel isn't in the database. But that's the thing. That is when it's not in the database. We didn't do a complete import of his entire database into ours. And that wouldn't even be feasible because we have differing schemas for our database, so it just wouldn't work. Oh yeah, and here's Charlie talking good about the graphs. Man, I love these graphs too. Such a cool design. Hopefully these things get fixed, because they're really good apart from these few things, I can't lie. But suddenly later he starts trash-talking me because apparently I took inspiration from his graph, which I already discussed, and I'm not going to get into that again. Oh, and here's Charlie trying to say that I'm incompetent again. That is if Tracky is still lasting in a year. TCA hasn't exactly had the best reputation at keeping bots alive. Well, you also don't exactly have the best reputation at keeping bots alive. Or at least sticking to your word on keeping bots alive. Which again, I discuss in Solar's video. I know it just seems like I'm advertising Solar's video, but this is basically just a follow-up to his. And I just wanted to talk about my own experience with Charlie. Okay, this is from July 20th. For context, this is a screenshot from that time of the About Me. The best stats tracker bot, currently in development. Keep that in the back of your mind. Let's get back to the screenshot. Here he's talking about a bug with how we calculate the next update of a channel. And then here he goes, I'll open another bug report. Period, which kind of has that aggressive tone. And if you've noticed, that's kind of how he acts here. He likes to do an aggressive tone sometimes when talking about Tracky. And then he says, y'all really should have tested this before making it public, which is why we had that message in the bot that said it was currently in development. Apparently Charlie can't read, and if he can, he kind of just blindly ignored it. Now here's the thing. All of this stuff would be excusable if it weren't for the fact that Charlie himself admitted that he runs AI code in production. And not only is he running AI code in production, he's also running code that I have written in production. Now the thing is that code I showed earlier, he did remove, but he replaced it with more code that I also sent him. I don't have the proof that he actually used this code, but I do have the conversation I had with him. Here I forwarded him a message. I forgot where I sent this exactly. I think it was in DMs with GNZ, who is also helping me build Tracky. But I said, I thought of this code in my sleep and it somehow works. And then I sent him a snippet from Tracky's code. And I said, if you want to make your bot faster, here's a way. And then he said, thank you, I'll try it later. He is currently running this code in production right now. I don't have proof of this because the screenshot he sent with my code in it has now been deleted because it was sent in Mr. Beast News. And as I said a while ago, all of his messages from Mr. Beast News were deleted. And now that we're finally done looking at his messages, let's take a look at this website. Just effing use Communitrics.com. I can't say that word, so I'm just not going to. But Charlie admits that this website was inspired from a Twitter trend that happened at the time, where people were making similar sites with similar names, such as this absolute gem, just effing use HTML, which kind of inspired everyone else to do the same, including Tailwind. Why did I mention some random dev tool to help people write CSS, whatever that is? Well, that's because if we scroll down to the very bottom of the website, Charlie admits that this site is inspired from that site, but the existence of the site is not my problem. This is exactly my type of humor. Just having such a professional outlook while having swear words. It's incredible. But you know what's not incredible? This section. I'm just going to let this speak for itself for a few minutes. No, I can't do it. I need to talk about this. Let's start at the very beginning. Tracky literally saw Communitrics working perfectly and said, yeah, I can make a worse version of that. I don't even know where to begin with this. I'm going to be honest with you because you know what? I'm going to say it. Communitrics never worked perfectly. There have been several bugs with Communitrics. In fact, Mike, put up that one screenshot of Communitrics sending a bunch of the same update. It doesn't work perfectly. And even if it did, the reason why it works perfectly is because of my influence. If it wasn't for me fixing the bug in the updates where it showed the previous subscriber count as not available, the Communitrics wouldn't be here with over 700 servers. Look at their site. View, analyze, and be notified of this. That's 6 seconds. Cool tagline, bro. Real original. Did you steal that from a corporate PowerPoint template? 1, that is no longer a tagline. So, 2, let's go to communitrix.com right now. Every milestone straight to Discord. Doesn't that sound like the exact same type of deal? I'm gonna keep this open because we're gonna get to it. Let's go back here. Let's get to this section. Launch 2025. Late to the party. Dominating since day one. You have not been dominating since day one, Charlie. I have to say, we'll get to that. Built by people who brought you other stuff nobody asked for and abandoned projects. This is just a personal attack. But I'm not insane, right? This just has to be a personal attack. This is something he likes to say. He likes to say that I've abandoned a lot of projects, when he himself has also abandoned a lot of other projects. In fact, he abandoned the idea of making a visualization YouTube channel. Like, it's absurd! 600 plus servers trust it. It actually works. It works because I helped you fix bugs that made it work. Brags about basic stability, lol. When have I ever done such a thing? When have I ever bragged that Tracky was just online? I don't recall a single time that I've ever done that. The only thing I've ever bragged about is the Tracky updates. And that's because I'm genuinely proud of it. It's genuinely something that I'm happy with. It's something that I want to show to the world because I'm proud of it. Flawless uptime. Yeah, sure. Can we talk about how in January 2024, Communitrics went down for like an entire week or so, trying to look modern with their generic Next.js site. Also, Communitrics trying to look modern with their generic HTML website probably breaks every other Tuesday. Well, at least I admit that it breaks every other Tuesday. In this exact same page, you have lied that you have flawless uptime. When you don't, you have had several weeks of downtime combined. And sure, in the past 90 days, you could argue he has had 100% uptime, but just because it's been fine the past 90 days doesn't mean it's been fine for all of its existence. Being fine for the last 90 days doesn't mean it's flawless uptime. And here we get to the thing that pisses me off the most. Why use a copycat when the original just works? Charlie, you cannot be the one who's saying that we are the copycats, because you are the one who copied someone else's work. So this is again the DM that I had with Charlie on January 24th. I asked, oh, you're building a stats bot? He said, yeah. I said, ah. And he said, like Axern. He admitted that he is a copycat of Axern.spacebot, which is another Discord YouTube channel tracking bot made by Neostats, who is kind of well known for really accelerating this idea of having YouTube channel tracking. She wasn't the first person to have this idea. There was someone else who built Discord stat pings, but she was the one who really popularized this idea and got it moving forward. And Charlie himself admits that his bot was a copycat of hers. And I actually have a diagram for this. This is the hierarchy of the Discord YouTube channel tracking bots. So here at the top, we have Tracky. And according to Charlie's logic, Tracky is a ripoff of Communitrix. But if you go by that logic, then Communitrix is a ripoff of Axern.spacebot, which we just discussed. Which in and of itself is a ripoff of statistical. Not really though, because again, Nia's pretty good at this, but for the sake of this example, let's say that. Continuing on with Charlie's logic, that means that statistical is a ripoff of LCXYZ StatsBot, which is another Nia bot, which is a ripoff of Discord stat pings, which I just discussed, which is a ripoff of the YouTube API, which is a ripoff of YouTube. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 layers of, in quotes, copycats. And Communitrics isn't even at the bottom of the list. It's at the very top, right here. And then there's also this very small text. They say imitation is flattery. We say get your own ideas. Well, there is one feature that is unique to us. This is a command that allows you to, as I say here, it allows you to look back and recall when something happened, which includes subscriber count milestones, dates to see how many subscribers a YouTuber had on a given date, and crossovers, aka when a channel passes another channel. I'm not sure if this is actually a unique idea, but I'm pretty sure that there have been no Discord bots that have even come close to thinking of this idea before. Tell me if I'm wrong. Leave it in the comments below if you've heard of a Discord bot or something that does this. And analytics sites don't count, since you have to look at the graph yourself and find that data point where this happened. This just tells you straight up when it happened. Also, this website isn't even your own idea. As I said before, and as you even admit yourself at the bottom of this webpage, this is inspired by other websites. You can't even think of a unique enough marketing tactic without scrolling through Twitter, seeing this meme of websites with this similar style, and then copying it. The fact that you tell us to get our own ideas when this isn't even an original idea? Crazy to me. Which brings me to why this website should even exist. The fact that you say that this isn't a competition. While you buy an entire domain, make an entire website, and advertise it to a bunch of your friends, is definitely making it seem like you want this to be a competition. Or at least that you're scared of the competition. You don't just buy a domain, make a website, make an entire section dedicated to my bot, and then sharing it to your friends very confidently, without being scared of the competition. And this is where I want to delve into my DMs again. Here is him buying the domain for the website. And here's me saying, don't you dare threaten me with a good time. That's a pretty good response, I must say. I'm pretty proud of myself for that. And here's him sending screenshots of the website. I'm just gonna scroll through this real quick. Notice something missing, though. That's weird. Where's the Tracky section? That's kind of strange, actually. If you're not scared of the competition, if you don't see this as a competition, then why did you make this a website and then show it to me, but completely remove the part where you talked about Tracky and just let me find out myself by going to the website? That's kind of odd, don't you think? If this was really just a joke and not a competition to you, you would send me that and we would laugh at it. But you just completely omitted it. And I didn't realize it until it was too late, because I DM'd him, this design is actually kind of fire. And now let's get to after I realized, because again, I didn't realize at first that he had an entire section dedicated to Tracky until I went to the website myself, in which case I then proceeded to kind of get a little pissed. And when I told Solar about it, he felt so bad for me that he went out of his own way to DM Charlie about it and talk him into taking down the website, which we'll get to, trust me. Let's read this. I thought this would be fine since it's a satirical site meant to be a joke, but I can remove the section/site if you want. I don't mind. We'll get to it. Sorry, genuinely. I guess I didn't think it was a big deal since it's a joke and a satirical site, but reading some of the points, stuff nobody asked for, I completely see why you feel this way. When I get home, I'll remove the section if you want. Sorry again. Naively, I said thank you, not realizing the things that I would get into. And then, for clarity, he sent me all of his DMs with Solar. I'm not going to look at these DMs through Charlie's POV because I feel like he could have cut some things out. It's time to look at it from Solar. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the messages because this is going to take, like, so long. And the situation pretty much describes itself, so I don't want to really read everything. But I do want to show one thing. Where is it? Aha! Solar says here, even if it is humorous, it still has a major impact and could greatly affect the reputation of Tracky. And Charlie says, no, I'm not promoting the site at all. No one will see it, and its reputation won't be ruined. Here's a screenshot of a message that he sent into my group chat. And I'm pretty sure he sent this in Mr. Beast News as well. I just don't have any proof of that because, again, As I've stated multiple times in this video, all of his messages got deleted when he got banned. But just this message in and of itself kind of disproves his point that he didn't send this to anyone. Oh great, I just read this as well. I'll be honest, I don't care about him copying it. It's a joke I thought meant to be taken seriously. I've almost killed Communitrics so many times over the past week. I'm done with everything. Trying to get sympathy out of Solar for this is top tier manipulation. Another thing is that Charlie likes to have this point that, oh, Tracky's so unstable. Communitrics has flawless uptime, as he said on the website. Communitrics is perfectly stable. But if you're saying yourself that you have been considering shutting it down over the past few weeks, and I know that's because it's unstable, that doesn't really correlate, because why do you want to shut it down if it's working perfectly fine and people are enjoying using it? I don't get it. Hi there, Editor TCA here. It has been a full day since I recorded this, and I realized something midway through my edit. So here we are again on Charlie's DMs with Solar, and he said in response to Solar saying that the section that was hating on Tracky was skipped in the screenshots that he sent to me. He said, yeah, because I added it after. My bad, I should have sent it to him after I added it. The reason why I didn't mention this earlier is because I believed him. It just didn't come across my mind that he would lie about this. Turns out, he would lie about this. So here I'm going to show you the screenshots that Charlie sent to me with a little red line added near the scroll bar. On this first screenshot, it's going to be on the bottom, but on the next two screenshots I'm showing you, it's going to be at the top of the scroll bar. The reason why I did that is because it shows the phenomenon that I'm trying to demonstrate here, which is that if we go to this next image, you can see that compared to the last image, the scroll bar didn't scroll that much. Now let's get to the next section. Hello? Did you see that jump? We started here, and then we ended up all the way down here! If Charlie had added the Tracky section after the fact, then his screenshots wouldn't have this random jump in the scroll bar. Charlie thought he could get away with this lie, but sadly enough for him, I have eyes, and sadly enough, the HTML scroll bar does not lie. And I would just like to give my extended gratitude to whoever invented scroll bars, because if it weren't for them, we would not have figured out that Charlie lied. Back to TCA from yesterday. And here we go, right back to his message. When I get home, I'll remove this section if you want. Well, you may be wondering, how are you showing this section if he was going to remove it when he gets home? Well, that's the thing. He never removed it. This is the current website. I'm gonna refresh. It's right here, animations and all. And you could argue that he said, if you want. But that's the thing. If he truly understood that he was in the wrong, he wouldn't need to wait for my go signal. He would just take it down. The fact that he's waiting for my, yeah, you should take it down message is showing that he didn't actually intend to take down the website until I said so. If you need permission from me to stop being toxic to me, you're just saying sorry because I caught you in your lies. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't want to make this video. I wanted to keep silent about this and solve it privately. My friends wanted me to keep silent and solve it privately. But considering the fact I'm making this video, it should be clear that it hasn't worked. And when someone is trash talking your bot that you have spent countless of hours on, and it is your proudest work behind your back, and then they go make an entire website and make an entire section dedicated to your bot, making fun of it and shredding it to pieces in front of your eyes, and the lie that he made the code himself, it's clear that silence isn't an option anymore. I didn't make this video to win a simple argument. I made this video to be transparent. I made this video so that you all can see the truth that I have been hiding for so long, the truth that Charlie does not want you to know. I have one final message for you, Charlie. You own the code. You own the domain. You own the name. You own the Discord bot. But you certainly did not do that by yourself. If it wasn't for my help, you wouldn't be here today. You can delete messages. You can pretend like I don't exist and that my code that I wrote isn't running in production right now. But you cannot delete the facts. You cannot delete the Git history. You cannot delete the files from my computer. You cannot delete this video. And you certainly cannot delete my voice. That is all I have. I'm gonna go back to building. If you want to actually have a good experience with tracking channels and instantly get notified whenever those channels get a subscriber update, and also helping support and using a bot that wasn't written by a pedophile, and who isn't toxic to his competitors who helped build his bot into what it is today, then make sure to add Tracky to your Discord server at tracky.sectools.org. That's about it for me. I'll see you when the new Tracky update comes out. See ya.